The Hypersonic Combined Test Force at Edwards is gearing up for the first flight of the X-51A Wave Rider flight test vehicle in the spring of 2010.
What we are going to do is we're going to take the X-51 Wave Rider. We're going to launch that from a B-52 at 50,000 feet over the Pacific Ocean, and then the vehicle is going to drop away. It's going to be accelerated by a solid rocket booster up to about Mach 4.5, at which time the solid rocket booster will drop away and the vehicle and the engine which is being tested is going to ignite and then further accelerate that vehicle up to Mach 6.
The engine being tested on the 51A is a hypersonic scramjet propulsion system.
A scramjet is an engine that has no internal moving parts, that it takes the air in, you mix fuel in it, and it automatically burns. Because of the high speed, high temperature that you get in flight, it now is able to produce a thrust.
Teams of testers have put in years of work leading up to the first flight of the X-51A.
It's a fairly complicated test. The altitude is right at the very top of B-52 capabilities. We also have chase, so they have to be there as well. The telemetry has to be relayed from Naval Station Point Magoo. We have to have a control room with about 35 people all watching the various telemetry. So there's a lot of teamwork aspects to this whole project.
Testers say the purpose behind this program is to demonstrate the ability to use air-breathing hydrocarbon propulsion in the hypersonic flight regime, which is flight more than 5 times the speed of sound.
What makes that a challenge for us and why we need to do the research is that conventional turbine engines are basically limited to about Mach 2.5 or 2.5 times the speed of sound. And it's really tough from the pressure and the heat and the aerodynamic loads on the conventional engines to get anywhere past about Mach 2.5. The scramjet on this X-51 will be able to take in air at flight speeds of over Mach 4 and up to Mach 6 and take air from the atmosphere, burn it, and then use it for thrust. And if we get that capability, we'll be able to apply this technology to many other flight applications that the Air Force might use.
As scramjet technology is developed, testers believe that in the near future it could be used to aid warfighters as a weapons delivery system. Further down the road, it is believed it will make space access easier. Aviation history was made May 26 when testers from Edwards Air Force Base and the Air Force Research Laboratory successfully launched an X-51A Wave Rider scramjet off the California coast. Based on preliminary data, after booster separation at 50,000 feet, the air-breathing scramjet vehicle approached Mach 5 at an altitude of more than 60,000 feet. The previous record was 12 seconds in the NASA X-43. Mr. Johnny Armstrong is the chief engineer of the Hypersonic Combined Test Force at Edwards and has worked for more than 30 years in the development of scramjet technology.
This was a repeat experience for me to be part of a control room activity of a hypersonic vehicle, and this one you approach with a lot of anticipation. You know how complicated, how challenging this particular trajectory was on the X-51 to fly into a very high dynamic pressure to get the conditions to start a scramjet. So this was very much a challenge, something we were concerned about, and it made it successfully. To that point, started that engine and flew for a significant period of time at a Mach number approaching Mach 5.
The X-51 was carried aloft to 50,000 feet by an Edwards B-52 Stratofortress over the Point Magoo Naval Air Warfare Center Sea Range. Flying at that altitude was just one of the challenges the B-52 crew had to face during the mission.
To get it into the launch box, we're at the upper envelope edges for the B-52. We're at 50,000 feet. We're flying it near our max Mach in a place where our aircraft doesn't really control very well. Very rare air, so for us, making the exact parameters, within plus or minus a couple of knots or within a few hundred feet of where we needed to be was extremely challenging for the B-52. We had to fly the aircraft at minimum fuel, so every minute that we're up there, we're just a few short minutes away from having to land immediately because we don't have enough gas to make it all the way back to Edwards. So small changes in the flight path or changes in our direction from anyone or any kind of conflict, because we're flying through LA Center's airspace, which is full of a lot of airline traffic, could have ended the mission. So it was, you're always on a razor's edge for fuel, which I thought was a unique challenge to the program as well.
Major Sean Selly was one of the two navigators in the B-52. While he was responsible for releasing the X-51 at the right moment, he says that it was a team effort that made it all happen.
Many hours of hard work, and everyone from the control room personnel to the maintenance to the cast of hundreds supporting this mission, to the engineers, making it all happen for that one moment in time.
Right after the mission, that team started the task of reviewing all the flight data.
We're starting to look at data today. We just are real anxious to get in there to look at some of the strange things that you see along a flight like this, to try to explain them. Where you need to make changes, you got to define those changes to get ready to go do it again.
Lieutenant Colonel Todd Venema is the director of the Hypersonic Combined Test Force.
Well, everything we do at Edwards is flight test, and a lot of what we do is weapon systems and the short to middle term, helping the warfighter more directly. This is more of a long-term thing. The things that we're working on in the scramjet engine are going to benefit the warfighter 15, 20 years from now when we're able to utilize this technology to bring new capabilities to the fight. It's exciting, though. It's exciting to do research. It's the type of thing that we read about when we wanted to become test pilots. You know, Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier and the X-15 program and those types of things. And it's really terrific to be a part of a program like that.
Don Waldman, Edwards Air Force Base, California.
Okay, I got him now. We're fine.